authenticity, being who I am. Started feeling disconnected. Like I felt like I was in a coma. I felt so dormant.
What would you say to her?
Not to take life too seriously. You make decisions intentionally. Even we say people finishing high school, like you need to know what you want to go to college for and choose your career now at 18 for the rest of your life. Like that's not realistic. I remember going on dates and thinking, is this guy supposed to be my husband? Because you date to get married. You don't date just to date, just for fun, because it's a phase. And she was so contained. So I actually feel sorry. I feel sorry because I couldn't see myself. The biggest lesson is that I could have been more tapping into themselves 10, 20 years from now with the current life you have. How are you going to be? Like feel or be or do? And it feels heavy because it's like, oh, I don't want that.
That's a good one. Hey everyone, welcome back to Bold Moves, the podcast where we empower women to be bold, be brave, and be you. Today I had a guest speaker, a special one as well. We talked a lot about rediscovering ourselves, and that is fascinating for me. We talked a lot about what we want, but also what we don't want in life and how we are going to go for it. We are going to live our life in our terms. It's all about authenticity. It's all about knowing you and keep on learning about yourself and what you really want to do to fulfill your life. And she said something that I will remember. She said, I am the intentional creator of my life. And that just hits me. So without further ado, let's welcome her, Nadja. Thank you so much for your time. Let's get started. So I'm always interested in personal development story. What part of your life story that helps you to be the woman that you are today, the woman that I'm speaking with today?
I can think of two moments. One was about 2009, 2010. I was very stressed out about a trip. I was at the airport hoping to board the plane because I worked for an airline. I didn't pay for the ticket. So you travel in standby, which means you only travel if there is a seat available. And I was trying to visit my sister in a different state. And I was just so stressed out that by the time I board, I just started crying because my body needed to purge those feelings. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore. The overthinking, the worrying, the anxiety, and enough was enough because like really, if I didn't make that flight, is it really the end of the world to board the next one, even if it was the next day? So that was the first time I was introduced to therapy, and I was researching and came across meditation and other things like that. And this is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely more present and less. Things definitely got better for me in that regard, but that was the very first and obvious turning point for me. Like, I can't live like this, being stressed out all the time.
Yeah.
And then the second time was about 2020 with COVID, the pandemic, and I was revisiting my life choices and my path in my religious path. And I came to some conclusions, and I was like, I'm not really living my life. Like something needs to happen. So it didn't feel as straightforward as the first example with the stress and the worry. But it was something like something's missing and I need to figure out what it is. That path started of trying to figure out what's missing in my life.
So the missing puzzle or something. So you kind of like revisiting your life. Was there a moment, because you said something about you're living, but it's not you. Was there a moment when you realized you were living by someone else's term?
Yeah, like mostly in hindsight, like, because at that time I had accepted everybody else's rules as mine, as something that I need to do, something I'm supposed to do. And then it's like, no, I want to experience that. And it actually started with lingerie, something simple. And I was religious, and in that religion, there's I could never wear something like this. You have to be well covered, and there's some garments that you wear underneath to show covenant, to show that you're committed. And I always had fascination with lingerie, like for me, not to show off to anyone. And I couldn't. And I'm like, because I had to wear this weird thing underneath my clothing.
Yeah.
So it started with that. And even like shorts. I remember buying this cute pair of shorts, but it was too short.
So you couldn't wear that.
Right. Yeah. And then looking back, and I was thinking about actually this past month, guys that I wanted to date when I was much younger, and I couldn't because of religion. And I cried and I felt so crushed, but I had accepted that was my path because I was following the rules of religion.
It's just interesting the part when you say it. It's just like you wanted to do something, but you couldn't, because there are rules. There are, for example, in your situation, for example, stopping you from doing what you want. That's what you meant.
Right. Exactly. But then I think in later years, more recent years, that I was like, is this really what I want? Is this really what I believe in? Because back then it felt it was the right thing. It felt it was the right thing. Like, oh man, that's what I'm supposed to do. It's still hard. But then most recently, it's like, do I really need to do this? Like, I want to live life and I'm not super happy.
So how's the journey of that from point A, you before, to point to now? So was it something that you find very difficult to do? Was there any, I don't know, I mean, how did you start? Like, how did you start to realize that, oh, that's not what I wanted? I've got to change. Because sometimes it's difficult to challenge your traditional kind of like values, or in religions or in any cultures.
Mm-hmm.
I find it sometimes difficult to go against that, and then because it's the whole society in your life, and the whole of your life you're learning about this, and then suddenly you want to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
How did it start?
I started experimenting. I think that year 2020, during the summer, I was wearing sleeveless dresses and things like that. I wasn't wearing the special clothing I was supposed to wear for my religion. So summers I spent that way, buying dresses. And I remember not even feeling comfortable wearing some of the stuff because it's like felt too revealing, but I started experimenting. So summers, I didn't follow religion rules in that sense. And even with alcohol, we were not supposed to drink. I was like, oh, maybe 1 cup, and feeling horrible because I thought maybe God will throw a freaking lightning on my head and I'm going to burn and die. But it started with experimenting clothing, really. But then it was evolving. It was evolving to other things. And I think 2023 was when things just exploded.
It's just things are changing. And talking about that journey to rediscover yourself, I might call it rediscover yourself, yeah? Because you're kind of like rediscovering new things in your life. What was the biggest lesson from this journey? What was the biggest lesson you've had from rediscovering you again?
I don't know if I can think of like the biggest lesson. I think, well, actually, authenticity, being who I am, because I started feeling disconnected. Like I felt like I was in a coma all these years.
Oh,
I felt so dormant. And even though, yes, I had happy moments and things like that, I wasn't miserable or anything like that. But the biggest lesson is that I could have been more. The biggest lesson was actually me. It's like, I'm not that different, but like, for example, I learned that I have some sex appeal. And I remember
that you didn't have before. You didn't think you had.
No, and I didn't think it was me. Like, I would see some women and they weren't vulgar or anything, they were, but they had that like sexiness on their personality. And I clearly remember saying, I wish this was me. It's not me. It's not my personality. It's not me. That's too bad. I guess God skipped me from that line when he was making the people, because I wasn't in touch with my femininity, with my womanhood and things like that. Then recognizing that I'm actually that, I think we all have that if we're
We
in
all have
touch.
that.
Yes. As long as we're in touch and recognize. And I wasn't in touch because I was not supposed to be in touch with that lifestyle, really.
That is very, I don't know, it's for me, it's something, when you say it, makes me think, makes me thinking about a lot of things. Where in my youth, for example. Yeah, sometimes we, because of the society, we didn't really think we could be that woman, but actually it's part of us. Like you say, your femininity and in touch with your womanhood.
Mm-hmm.
That is not something, no one teaches me that.
No.
And within my family or especially at school, no way. But it's just, I'm so glad that you found it, that you found your femininity, you're in touch with womanhood. And I remember I think you sent me photos before you were in touch with your kind of like sexiness or your, what do you call, womanhood. And now, how do you really feel when you look at the photos?
It's hard for me to look. It's actually very hard because I feel a little sorry for that person who was so contained, who had big dreams and desires and passions. I'm actually another discovery. It's like I'm a very passionate person. Like I've always known I'm dedicated. Like when I'm interested in, I don't know, dance class, I go all in. And
you'll go all in.
Yes, but like I have this passion and zest for life and I want to experience it and live it. And she was so contained. So I actually feel sorry. I feel sorry because I couldn't see myself. I feel sorry that I didn't have really good support at that time. And I feel sorry that I had dreams. And even in our relationships, I've always been romantic. And my marriage at that time was also very dormant. Although we were very friendly, we still are friendly. Actually, it's hard for me to look. I feel like I'm so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I looked at the photos, what you sent, I was like, are this the same person? I mean, it's not like the other one is this, another one is this. No, it's just totally like a different person.
Yeah.
I think when you, but it's so interesting. You say, I feel sorry. And then my question is, what would you say if you can have moment like this kind of question? It's a bit funny, but I find it's kind of like reflective when you kind of like thinking about it. What would you say to her?
Not to take life too seriously. I understand why I did, because when you live in a culture, and even the way I was raised, my parents were very responsible, very on time, and you make decisions intentionally. And culturally, even we say people finishing high school, like you need to know what you want to go to college for and choose your career now at 18 for the rest of your life. Like that's not realistic. With religion, dating, I remember going on dates and thinking, is this guy supposed to be my husband? Because you date to get married. You don't date just to date, just for fun, because it's a phase. So I understand why I took life very seriously, but I would still say, like, you're young, like things don't have to be final. Even if you date someone for 3 months, was it really a waste of time? I don't think so. It was experience. There was something there that you gained, that you learned about yourself, that you learned about what you want on somebody, what you don't want. Things don't need to be final. You don't have to get it right all the time.
It's when you say things have to be final, it's just hit me. Because when you said this, you're dating someone and you're thinking about marriage already. And that is something that I found, wow, like it's something new that I found. And yeah, imagine have to live under these terms when everything, like you said, when we're 18, you have to go to college and you have to think about your career. Everything was so serious. And no wonder when I listened to your story in the airport, you got overthinking, you've got anxiety, because all of your life, I think everything was serious. Was it really like that? Like everything was intense, like it has to be intentionally done.
Yes, it was. It was. My mom was very strict. And I think also some trauma, right? Like for me, I'm a rule follower too by nature because the way I was raised, like love was conditional, you know, if we were good girls, because I have a sister, okay, yay, here's the love. But if we did something wrong, even if it's like I broke a cup by accident, then the love will be withdrew from. So I learned
Yeah.
that I had to please. And when you have to please, you got to follow rules.
That's
So
people pleasing
yeah.
behavior. Yeah.
And fear of abandonment. So I try to follow all the rules so that there's no way for me to be abandoned or, like,
Oh, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I love what the love you received was conditional instead of unconditional, because you love the person unconditionally. But yeah, it leads to you doing things because of them, like people pleasing,
right.
and it's kind of like what I say, trauma response, because you're doing things to get their love, the love from other people, not really from you, but other people. I think I've been through that as well, of course. The people pleasing behaviors and all that. What was the biggest fear for you within the journey becoming you? Maybe your limiting beliefs or your biggest fear becoming you, or becoming the rebel, not the rebel actually. It's because you just break the rules, right? After that. So what was the biggest fear?
I'm okay with being the rebel because even growing up, I was the black sheep. Between my sister and I was the black sheep. So I think the biggest fear, it wasn't really becoming me. It was the things I had to do to give myself a chance to have the life that I wanted. And that included leaving my marriage and getting a divorce. So the biggest fear was the unknown. The unknown, because I had a healthy marriage. Like we got along well, there's no toxicity. And then people say, wow, you have no reason to get a divorce. There's no abuse. There's no, but it's like, I know what I want in a relationship and it's just not happening or going to happen. And having to leave the safety and security for the unknown, because it's like, I might not even find the man of my dreams, so, but same time, it's like, I need to give it a chance. So separating first, like this was the hardest thing I've ever done, was leaving a healthy marriage, but healthy doesn't mean it's fulfilling. We were just, two friends who lived together and it's great, but it's not really, because I want a romantic partner. Like I want more. So yeah, the fear of the unknown, leaving safety for something I might not even get, but I need to give it a chance.
The uncertainty, the unknown. That was a very brave thing to do. How did you use? I mean, there must be a lot of thinking happening at that time, because how long was the marriage? Was it long?
Yeah, 17 years.
There you go. And that's what I'm thinking. There must be a point as well when you think, this is not what I want, because sometimes we just think about what we want, but not really what we don't want. So how did you communicate it to the people around you, or to for example, your ex-husband? Like, look, this is not working. How did you, how you were able to be brave? This is not what I want after 17 years. I think that is so fascinating.
Like I've always been romantic and passionate. I'm from Brazil too. So things like we're more
and passionate, like affection as well.
Right. And I think throughout the years, we've communicated that with my then husband, but there was I think first I left religion in 2023, which turned my, my brain to like, I don't have to stay in this marriage anymore. But I wasn't there yet. It was like, let's work things through. And then my then husband also expressed that he wasn't happy with a few things. And then we went to couples therapy. And then eventually I just decided, I was a little impulsive, but not really, because it had been at least a year since we were talking.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, like, what else can I do for me? What can I experience from life? And a few other things happened that just pushed me to just say, like, maybe we need to separate. And it was meant to be a trial separation. But then shortly after separated, it's like, I really felt this urge to find my life, I need a chance to find the love of my life or whatever, or whoever. But yeah, it was kind of like impulsive, but not really.
Not really. I don't think it was impulse.
Yeah, but it
It was
felt like
something
that at that
within you.
moment in a way.
Yeah, but that. I think that's very brave for you to do it. To know what you don't want in a relationship and being able to kind of like, look, I don't think this is what we want, because you started to realize that you start questioning everything. And I think sometimes in life we need to do that, right? To kind of like question, where are we right now?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, for people who may be in the same situation with you, just for the audience or listeners who are listening, can you share some thinking or mindset, or I don't know, steps, or any mindset or step for you to be brave enough to rewrite your story? Because what you did, you rewrite your own story.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought that way?
Sometimes, like, I've been trying to think about a positive self-talk or I am statement. And I've tried to think like I am the intentional creator of my life. So that's something that I wish I could say daily, but I don't remember to say daily. But there are some moments where I'm about to make decision or I want to make decision. I am the intentional creator of my life. I get to decide this time. And then thinking like, what else do I want? Like some thoughts that I had, because I'm 43 now, but back then at 40, I was thinking, do I want the next 40 years to be like this? And it's like, no, no. And also, I had the example of my parents who separated but never divorced, and they're unhappy. They're elderly and unhappy. And I thought, like, the regret of not trying to me felt heavier than trying and not being quite what I thought it was, but at least I gave it a chance. So I could not picture myself like not trying and having that regret. And even Tony Robbins, he has a system called the Dickens. I forgot how it's called, but it's the Dickens theory or something like that. So he has people tapping into themselves and thinking about 10, 20 years from now with the current life you have.
Oh,
How are you going to be, like, feel or be or do 20 years from now, 10 years from now with your current life, not making any changes? And it feels heavy because it's like, oh, I don't want
that's
that
a
from
good one.
Yeah. So I think having a clear idea of what you want helps, but at least knowing you want something different. Like, I deserve more. I want something else. And going for it, because I heard a lot of things like, oh, like, don't be fooled, don't be a fool. You're going to dating after divorce is hard. You're not going to find people. People are a bunch of players, or like, you have no reason. How about your kids? You're being selfish. You need to think about them. So I had to block a lot of voices, and even,
voices.
yeah. And even honestly, for some friendships had to end, because it's like, this is about me and my life. And I'm a risk taker.
Did you lose people along the way?
Did I what?
Normally, when people go through, did you lose people like your friends or something during the development journey? Because a lot of people said to me, when they're starting to develop, when they want something different, they kind of like lose people around them at that time, and it's pretty lonely. Did you have that kind of experience?
Yeah, in a way. I think I knew, like, some of the religious people, yes. Especially, I think it's not very common for the woman to pack and leave, and that was me. I think I got more backlash because it felt stronger. Even my own mother, she was like, it's not normal for a woman to just leave. Even though like my divorce was very amicable, was very amicable. There was no drama. Thank heavens we get along well. But I was the one who left. And people are more used to the man leaving. Even if it's the woman who wants a divorce, the man still leaves. So I felt kind of judged. So I think in the religious perspective, not everybody, but there was some relationships that didn't go further anymore. But other things like criticism, I wasn't okay mentally, emotionally. And even I had someone who I was very close with call me like fragile. You're very fragile. Like, why you're struggling so much? And I'm like, so criticism, I had to block the criticism. Or like, what if it's not? I'm like, I don't know. Like, but I don't need that. And I don't need that. I mean, it's doesn't feel nice, but same time, it's like, no, like I've lived for other people way too long. And even like, of course, my kids are important to me, but I need to be happy. Like I deserve to feel fulfilled. And yeah, like it was very sad. I did not want my kids to grow up in a broken home in a way. But same time, it's like, I have a life. Like I lived for them my oldest is 7, like the first 6-7 years, it was just them and religion and work. It's like I was neglected. I've been neglected all these years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't do that anymore. And then I try to be positive. I want them to see that you need to go after what you want.
That was interesting as well. When you say the intentional, I don't remember the word. I am the intentional creator.
I'm an intentional creator of my life.
I am the intentional creator of my life. That is beautifully said. I think I might start saying that in front of the mirror, because it's actually a reminder that you are the creator of your life as well. I mean, that is beautiful. I love that part. Yeah, you also mentioned before that you found when you rediscover yourself, people used to call you grumpy or something in your story. And you found out I'm not, and I didn't feel like you were grumpy. So, what other things did you discover about yourself?
You know, like I'm passionate. I want to experience and feel life. I feel life fully. I feel my feelings fully, and I think it's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I'm still learning. Like I feel like I'm a 19-year-old who did not get to experience life, did not get to break rules. Not that I break rules on purpose, but I'm still learning. So what I discovered about myself is that I'm in an experimenting mode, and it has come with some messes along the way and some consequences. There are consequences to everything, but same time, it's like it's my life, and I'm learning like connection is important to me. I really value human connection and friendship, and I really nourish that. I discovered that, like fulfillment and even purpose in life. Like my purpose in life is to experience life, is to feel life, is to
live the life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really good too. There's another reflective moment in this episode. What one thing you love about yourself the most right now? Because as a woman, we always find a way. I don't like my hair. I don't like my this. But we don't really say every day one thing that we love about ourselves.
That's true.
What's good? What's one thing you really love about yourself right now as your current Nadja?
I'm genuine, and I love that I'm trying to align who I am on the inside with my actions. Because sometimes we say, oh, I value honesty, but then you go around lying. So it's like, there's a disconnect.
Alignment. There's no alignment.
Yeah, but I love that but I think the thing I'm the most proud of is trying, giving myself a chance, believing like there's like, because I have to believe, because if I don't believe there's something better or comes along, then that would be so depressing. So I have like giving myself a chance and following my own path. So the ability that I had to do a hard thing, and it was very hard because there were moments I wanted to go back, like, can we forget about all this? But there was a threshold that I crossed, and it's like, okay, now I'm on my path, on my way. I don't know what it looks like, but I love that about me, that I will fight for what I want.
That's wonderfully said. I love the part when you say, I'm trying.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I found very humbling, very humble. At the same time, you still want to experiment. You still want to learn more. Or someone who might be struggling in rediscovering themselves in their 30s, maybe, or unsure about who they are, or living under someone else's terms. What piece of message you are going to say to them?
I would say, think about, go deep. Like, if you remove anything, remove rules, remove in a perfect world, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel about yourself? How do you want to feel about the world? What would you be doing if you could do anything? If you could be anything? If you could experience anything? What would those things be? And I think a lot of people are saying, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. But then they were like, oh, like church is complicated, blah, blah, blah. It's like you're not really happy. You want to believe that you're happy. But if you could choose without any consequences, you wouldn't choose to be here. Obviously not everybody, but there were a lot of people like that. So try to remove the barriers, the mental barriers. If I didn't have these rules, if I didn't have these expectations, what would I be doing? What would I be experiencing? How do I want to feel? And I think you can go from there.
Wonderful. I think we have to question more about ourselves and asking the question, yeah, like you said, because you said a lot of people think they're happy, but then, am I really happy? Question. Or I'm pretending to be because I'm supposed to be happy.
Right.
And then they go from that journey of when you start questioning, that's when your brain starts to find a way. There might be another way, some things like that.
Yeah. And I prefer using the word fulfilled than happy.
Yeah.
I think one can lead to another, but I think fulfillment feels more steady because, happiness is a feeling, it can come and go. Yeah. But fulfilled, you can still feel like at the end of the day, even though today wasn't a good day or whatever, I'm still working towards my cause of whatever it is. So I tend to think a lot about fulfillment.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah, maybe we should use more the word fulfilled instead of happy. Because happy, you can be happy. I'm happy seeing my pet, my cat, my dog, or something like that. But fulfilled is another level of happiness. Fulfilled is when you start to question yourself. Am I on the right path? Am I going? That was very interesting. Thank you so much for your time and your insight today, Nadja.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate that. It's and you're amazing. You are able to rediscover yourself, and instead of just living like this until later on in life, you decided to kind of like, no, that's not my path, and I've got to choose a different path. I think that's a very courageous and brave thing to do as a woman.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.